What is up, William? What's up, Heath? The legend.
What's going on, man?
What's up, my guy? How are you doing today?
Doing all right, brother. How are you doing?
Great, man. It's been a crazy day, but it's been a blessing. But
Yeah, I saw that awesome game plan or
yeah,
that you just joined, man. What's
yeah,
what's all that about?
that's awesome. So that's just they are a sports community, basically bringing founders, executives, different startups, and the whole sports, fitness, tech
Ecosystem.
ecosystem together. Yeah, that's how you say that word.
Yeah, yeah,
Bringing
yeah.
them
A
together,
little bit.
yeah, just to foster and grow like the future of sports,
Sweet, man.
fitness. And so when me as a part of the FitLift founding team,
Yeah.
and I reached out to Robert Thompson, the founder of it, and I just wanted to connect. And so we're looking to raise our seed round as well, and just me doing BD, and then he was just really impressed with my background, and so I'm an athlete and in the sports world very
Yeah.
well still, and so he wanted me to be an executive in residence, and so here we go. So
Yeah, yeah. Moving on up.
yeah, man, just stepping away, but yeah, man. Thank you guys for all the breaking gang out there. We're breaking into the future, episode 2.
Awesome. I'm honored to
Yes,
be number 2.
yes. This is specifically breaking crypto, though, where we go into the future, all things future, crypto, blockchain, EV, solar, cannabis, psychedelics, robotics,
Metaverse.
AI, metaverses, DeFi, anything you want to talk about. We want to break it down so you can understand where the next 20, 25 years are going.
Yeah.
And we are too. We're here to learn as well. Got my guy, my big bro out of Brooklyn.
Where Brooklyn at?
Yeah, William
Yeah, yeah.
Heath Murray. What's up, man? We need like
Chilling.
animation.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Little applause. Appreciate that. Appreciate that. So I guess I should get started. Just introduce myself.
Yeah,
So
give your background.
yeah, yeah. So my name is Heath. From New York City, born and raised. Spent some time down in Atlanta. Shout out to Morehouse. That's where I went. That's my undergrad. Came back up here to the city to do a grad program. And when I came back up, I slowly started getting into entrepreneurship. I worked with a friend of mine. To publish a children's book. So a children's book printed on papyrus paper. Did that back in 05 to like 07. Then I started getting into the nascent and burgeoning New York City startup scene that was popping at the time. Foursquare was starting around that time. It was an interesting scene, and tried to do some things on my own. I worked with now the CEO of Fury Sport, Eric Mathalia, on some ideas around fashion and open source and fashion and open source. Did a newsletter that went, directly to a multicultural audience called The Blacklist. It was about marketing, local events and local content to people back when local media was just getting really, really big in 2009, 2010. And then I took a break and started getting into writing. Always wanted to be a writer. And I started off as a horrible writer.
Yeah.
One of those things that Ira Glass talks about and Seth Godin talk about. You pick something that you can be bad at so you can become good at it to eventually become great at it.
Yeah.
And that became writing for me.
Mhm.
And, around 2015, 2016, started hearing things about blockchain and crypto, picked up a couple of books, didn't take it seriously. But last year during the pandemic, really last summer to be exact, really started going heavy into blockchain and to cryptocurrencies. And to be frank with you, Joshua, like for me, it was really about blockchain because I saw blockchain as a revolutionary technology, digital ledger, and saw so many applications across a variety of industries. And like you just mentioned in the opening, it's not just blockchain, but it's blockchain in conversation with other technologies that are emerging and starting to change and impact just not only the tech landscape in and of itself, but also other industries as well.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, just really started doing research, started getting into cryptocurrencies. And in March of this year, launched my own newsletter, blockchain crypto newsletter called YoBlock, YoBlock. The domain is YoBlock.net. Right there's a landing page where my sign up for my newsletter, and it's been going pretty well, man. Still growing my user base, but from the people that are there, really just enjoy the newsletter, enjoy reading it. I enjoy writing it. Writing has become a love of mine, and of course, along with blockchain and crypto. and looking to expand that platform into something a little bit deeper. So I'm just thinking now ways to pivot the newsletter, because right now the newsletter serves the top of the funnel, right? People who are just new to blockchain and crypto just want to orient them to some of the concepts, some of the goings on of the blockchain and crypto world in a way that's I think palpable, right? It's not technocratic. It's not really talking about cryptography or using a lot of cryptographic terms, but trying to find a way to give it to the layperson in a way that's digestible. They can chew on it and they can just reference the newsletter. I like to say, I'm making people cocktail party conversant with this version of the newsletter. And then, of course, I want to create more of a newsletter that's a little bit more heady and academic in nature. So we'll see what happens, man. But that's my story, and I'm sticking to it for now until I decide to lie and create another story. But hey, that's the internet.
Yeah. Why'd you name it YoBlock?
I named it YoBlock because at the time when I started a couple of months ago, I really wanted to think about. I'm a big hip hop head, just love old school hip hop. I grew up in hip hop, grew up in New York City, was born in 1980. So I thought about this concept of how do you make blockchain, right, this big long name, into something that's catchy, something that resonates with people who you're trying to talk to, people my age, 30s, 40s, working class, people who are too busy to spend a lot of their time on some of the more important financial media articles and news outlets. But would have a name that would capture their attention. So I liked YoBlock, and I called it YoBlock, and the tagline, is remix the internet. So, it's just idea of, right, the blockchain is the new internet. So we're just remixing the internet and finding YoBlock, finding your space in the blockchain crypto world, staking out something for yourself, which is in theme with what blockchain is, making things decentralized and giving people an opportunity to stake their own claim, be their own boss, be independent, and outside of the movements of or the watchful eye of some of the centralized authorities that we currently interact with and are being watched by now, even as we speak.
All seeing eyes.
Talk
to me about when you knew for your own self, you did your own research, you DIY.
Yeah.
When did you know, like, oh my gosh, this is something big that I can't get my head around. I need to go all in.
When I saw the way Bitcoin was growing. So a couple of years ago, I had a friend of mine, shout out to Alex Munoz. He was invested in Bitcoin, and it was like, at the time, 5K. And just seeing what Bitcoin had become and the attention it was getting. And then in addition to that, seeing how blockchain could change industries, seeing how blockchain could help to decentralize the internet, empower users on the internet, give them back their power, right? Or give them power they've never really experienced on the internet, especially if you're part of digital native and you've been part of Web 2.0 most of your internet life. So that's when I saw that, when you can control your information, you could control your own data, you can, basically provide permissions for who you want to share your wealth with or share your data with, your privacy controls. When I saw all that, that's when I knew that blockchain could get bigger. When I saw that people thought about blockchain as a threat to the current, public, FANG, major tech companies that were there, that's when I was like, oh man, this is something that could be pretty big. It's good. At times it seems like a long shot. Sometimes it's like crystal clear. You can just see it. And at times you're just like, walking around in the fog, trying to figure out how this blockchain thing is going to all, come together in a real and powerful way. But that's a time that I knew that it was going to be big and something that I wanted to be a part of.
That's epic. I love that.
Yeah.
And we talk about, can you break that down for the listener and for people who are on the fringes? Can we walk through Web 1 and go to where we are today? So what are you talking about when you say Web 2? What is where's our Web 1? Can we go through that so people understand why we're at? So that's number one. And then number two, I would like to talk about the value prop. I think you said some things that really stands out in terms of why is this valuable? Why is the blockchain and cryptocurrencies valuable? And so number one, let's go through the history. Number two, let's go through just the value prop.
Yeah, that's a great question. So, I'm sure there's, this is the kind of question where different roads lead to Rome. So I'll just come from my road, right? Web 1.0, I remember first time I really saw the internet thrive, I was about 13, 1993, and there was AOL 2.0, not even 3.0, because 3.0 AOL got huge.
Yeah.
I was AOL 2.0, and I was like, what is this? And my friend was in a chat room. I think I was maybe 8th grade. And that's when I started becoming familiar with the internet. As I went through high school, 93. And then I went to high school in 94. And then 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, I'm in high school. And, I finally, in my house, we finally get a computer. I get on like 3.0, 4.0 AOL. It's GeoCities. Yahoo is a search engine. Ask Jeeves. Just pages with just content. Always getting hit up with tons of ads wherever you went into a website that would just slow down your computer.
Yeah.
But 1.0 was important because it was the commercialization of the internet. It was the introduction of the internet. It allowed people to do some nifty things as far as, scanning menus and putting content online, coming up with an idea, like a GeoCities, and having your own GeoCities site where you're going to publish your own content and update it. AOL allowed people to connect, right? So, people used to put ASL, age, sex, location. I don't know if you remember that, IMs and AOL, AIMS.
Yeah, that's when I got on.
AIM was important, man.
Yeah, it was all step changes.
Yeah, because AIM was great because AIM to me was like the first Twitter because people would check people's away messages and then be subs on an away message. Mm-hmm. People would leave disses on away messages, just subtle subs, let people know, mind your business.
Yeah.
And so 1.0 I think was great because it was the first introduction. It was the introduction to, being able to transact online. PayPal came along that time. Being able to socialize online, AOL, and then be able to publish online, GeoCities and some other sites. And then I think the most important thing, to be able to search online, to discover online. What does it mean that, you have this search engine where now you can find things and find other ideas and connect with people and pay for things online? I think my homeboy, I remember online, two things that happened that were pretty amazing to me online. I think Star Wars had this big universe thing online that you could do at that time. Mm-hmm. My friend had a gaming computer. Another thing that happened during that time, when the Tommy Lee and Pamela Anderson sex tape leaked, and everyone had access to that and could download that. Yeah. That was a big thing during that time. And then I remember my friend was able to buy a album of Del the Funky Homo Sapien. Shout out to the Hieroglyphics crew, Souls of Mischief. And he did it through mail order, right? So he had to, I remember Del had like a page, and then he had to fill out a money order and then send it. And then Del, sent the record, the CD back that way, back in the mid-90s. So that was some of the more interesting things in Web 1.0, people being able to transact and do business, gaming, this idea of worlds online, pre-metaverse, as they say.
First iteration.
Yeah. Then Web 2.0 was, right, you had the crash. You had the rise of Google. Right. I remember when one of my philosophy professors introduced me to Google. It's like, oh, this is a new search engine, and you have to use the plus sign to add all these key terms, and it pops up, information for you. And this is around 2002. Yeah. And then I remember walking with my homeboy in the neighborhood I live in now. I wasn't living here. And he was like, yo, they're talking about, some of the Silicon Valley offices are starting to get populated again. People are talking about, connecting. And then, of course, I think the big thing for me going into my early 20s was Friendster. Right. Friendster was like that first social go at it. And then we had MySpace, and then MySpace was acting sketchy. And then we moved over finally to Facebook once Facebook opened up, and LinkedIn. And so Web 2.0 was important because it took some of the early actions we had in Web 1.0, what I mentioned earlier, which is transactions, publishing online, socializing, and took it to another level where the socializing became more consistent. The publishing became more consistent and ubiquitous. So you had Blogger and other opportunities and other platforms for you to get your ideas out and market to people. And the transaction became a lot more deeper and embedded. Of course, the last thing people could talk about is search. And obviously, with Google, search just became a monster with ads and finding different ways to discover content, search algorithms, page rankings, and all the novel ways that Google created to help creators and publishers find a space in this new thing that they call the internet, or I would call Web 2.0. Now moving to Web 3.0, right? Now you have, and this is, subject to debate as all things are. Internet of Things, everything being connected, and all this is given rise, is important and ties into 5G, right? So wearables, getting rid of devices so that we just have wearables or connected microphones, ubiquitous computing, as Michio Kaku talked about in his book Visions, which was published in 1997. I love that term, ubiquitous computing. Computers, and what Michio Kaku was saying was, like, he's a physicist over here in CUNY, is that there's going to be computers in everything. Computers in your tie, computers in your clothes, computers, analyzing your urine in your toilet bowl to tell you if you need to go to the doctor.
It's not tech. It's just nothing. Yeah. It's not tech. It's just a part of your life. It just
exactly. Everything is layered.
Singularity.
Yes. Everything's just layered with technology. Internet of Things, where what you do with your coffee maker, and your coffee maker can send signals to the manufacturer to now send you additional packets because it could tell that you're running low on the packets that originally sent to you. Blockchain technology, with being able to create a decentralized internet, where the internet now, and the power of the internet, comes to the hands of a particular individual. Like I said, creating opportunities for owning your data, which is, I think, critical coming out of Web 2.0, because in Web 2.0, we were all adding all this content and activity into the internet, but it was going to these centralized servers owned by these companies. And so they can, package and sell your data against, ads, which is how they make money. That's how Google made money. That's how Google became the behemoth that it is, off ads, and it's ad structure. Web 3.0, I think, is also going to be important, because when you get into ubiquitous computing, you get into also the speed and the ways in which you can now build deeper, richer applications, especially with augmented reality. And now we talked earlier about the metaverse, right? These idea of building these rich, lush online worlds that not only house your real identity, but also house a more teased out, dominant, internet identity as well, that allows you to not only operate there and walk around and be present, but also to transact there. So it's opening new doors and gateways for commerce and for content creation that have not been seen yet. They've been seen in pockets, but now it's going to be completely integrated. So that's the value prop, I think, of blockchain, is being able to help people, empower people to take ownership of their work and their creation, i.e. NFTs, right? So you have a non-fungible token, and you could write into the code of a non-fungible token that every time that NFT is resold, you get a piece of it. Whereas now you sell something and someone resells and resells, you obviously don't see a piece of that. And that may be interesting for corporations and individuals alike.
Yeah. Man, where do we go? Where do we go from there?
Yeah.
But I guess the value prop is to say to someone, hey, the last 20 years of the internet, you didn't have any power. Now the power belongs to you.
Yeah.
As a single node, we're not going to sell people a node, but you as the person, the power is back to you. It's bottom up from now.
Yes.
So the protocols, right? Ethereum, Cardano, they still make a lot of money because they are the new internet protocols.
Yes.
But now it goes back to the in-person, and they can create their own system, which is why the creator economy is exploding. But we really haven't seen it yet, but it is starting.
Oh yeah.
It's starting already.
Yeah. I saw with 5G, I was watching the interesting video, and they said right now with 4G, there's like 10,000 phones per per certain square mile, and we're going into millions of phones per certain square mile, like every 3 square miles. I mean, there's going to be so many devices connected.
Yeah.
From your building to your home to your lawnmower to your sprinkler device to your coffee maker to your refrigerator. Like I said, I mentioned before, your toilet. It's just getting getting more. Yeah, your lights. Everything is just coming online and staying online.
Yeah.
So
it'll be more devices than humans in the next 10 years.
Yeah.
MIT put that study out.
Yeah.
So you think about if there's going to be 10 billion humans in the next 20 years.
Yeah. It's going to be an interesting time for being a creator.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. The time is now. The creator wave. We just hit phase 2, right? It's too late to create or have a niche or have a brand. Like we have almost half the world still isn't online yet.
Yeah, that's true.
Viewers, think about that.
Yeah, I think Google and most of these companies, they talk about the next billion users. They are designing for the next billion users.
Working on that
People,
for a couple
you
years. For
see here my map. People
yes,
from this
all
part of the world.
the East. Yeah, they are
Yeah, yeah,
preparing
yeah,
for the East and people in these indigenous places
yeah, yeah. Global South.
to get on. And so I know we said a lot there, but I think like in terms of the blockchain
Yeah.
in YoBlock, what do you see right now with just the cryptocurrency market in terms of just as simply as you can, like for newcomers or just let's start like in a newcomer fashion.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm just getting into this. It's kind of, hey, it's kind of frothy right now. It's not frothy as it was before. It's kind of like kind of quiet.
yeah.
What do you see? What are your thoughts of where we are? I've heard about Doge. I know about Bitcoin. I'm just stepping into this game and I'm still on the edge, but kind of want to hop in.
Mm, mm. What do I do? Right. What do I do?
Start.
So let's say you come from the perspective, I just want to get into crypto, which is cool. No problem. I would recommend you at least understand and read, do some light reading on blockchains because you want to understand the underpinning technology behind cryptocurrency, but you don't have to go heady with it like Joshua and I do with blockchain. But if you want to get into crypto and current cryptocurrency, I think the first thing you have to understand is what is cryptocurrency? So you have to understand that for yourself. B, once you understand what cryptocurrencies are, then the second thing you have to do is understand where they're headed. Why does this term cryptocurrency keep coming up? What do people think this technology can do for our future, not just economically, but also politically, social politically? So I think that's the second thing you should understand because that will also inform what cryptos you start getting into. And I think when you talk about cryptos you want to get into, you should also make a decision. There's two kind of camps right now. Do you want to be a trader or do you want to be an investor? Similar to the way it is in the stock market with equities. Are you a trader or are you an investor? You have to kind of determine what your level of risk is. Right now, cryptocurrencies are very volatile. And that's a good thing and that is a bad thing. It depends on what your appetite for risk are. But risk is, but they are volatile and you have to know that in the front end. So when you get involved, when this third point I'm making, you have to make a decision if you're a trader or an investor. And then once you decide that path, I would recommend you start researching and looking into the cryptocurrencies that work for that particular path. Now, I'm not a trader, so I can't really talk that well or from an educated, informed point of view about trading. But as far as investing, I think there's so many good opportunities and I would say organizations out there and online articles that you could start getting into, whether it's Blockworks, BlockFi, Decrypt Media. I mean, there's all these places you could start going into where you could just start reading up on the, cryptocurrencies that are big right now. Start with Bitcoin. I recommend Bitcoin even if you're not going to invest in Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the genesis of everything that we're talking about right now. So I definitely recommend you look into Bitcoin. I recommend you look into Ethereum as well. And then I recommend you start looking to the top altcoins. Like, what are the top 10 cryptocurrency coins? Start there. Start looking at them. Go to their websites. Read their white papers. YouTube is just full of all kinds of people who are crypto enthusiasts, crypto traders, crypto investors, crypto pundits, talking heads. You spend some time there where they talk about some of the altcoins that you can possibly invest in. Cardano, Monero, and some of the other, I think, important altcoins that are out there that you can get into. And then also pay attention to the speculative coins, right? Which are usually considered Dogecoin, even though Dogecoin is in some weird kind of transition right now.
Mm-hmm.
Shiba Inu, SafeMoon. I think you have to understand what the meme coins are doing as well. This is an important part of the space that I don't think is going to go away because right now people are making money with the pump and dumps. Not a lot of money. A lot of people are getting burnt as well. But you have to understand this space. And so understanding this space also means being aware of what the meme coins are doing, why people are behind meme coins. What are people hoping meme coins will do for them? We're still in a pandemic, but coming out of a tail end of a pandemic, at least here in the United States, and trying to understand where people are at financially, where people are at emotionally, and all that kind of fuels some of the activity you've seen in cryptocurrencies, right? Cryptocurrencies promising the freedom that Josh and I are talking about. the independence that people are seeking. People, I think, they're relying on cryptocurrencies to get them ahead a lot farther than you would with some of the other traditional assets that people invest in.
Yeah, that's great. Do you think people in the U.S. really see that it's a freedom play? Do you think people really know that? And if so, what's the percentage of people know that in the U.S.? Maybe or in the U.S. and then in other countries around the world. So U.S. first, and then our Western world, U.S. and other parts of the world.
Well, I mean, look what Ray Dalio said, right? Ray Dalio came out when a couple of weeks ago was talking about, I own some Bitcoin, and he can, lightly touched on comparing Bitcoin to bonds. I think most young people get that. Like, how many people are relying on their stocks to get them the returns that they're hearing with cryptocurrency? I mean, I heard a very powerful Shiba Inu story, right? Someone invested in Shiba last year, two brothers from New York City, wedding photographers. As we know, the wedding photography business was rough last year during the pandemic. They put eight grand into it, and now they have $9 million. I mean, that's not the only story. There's multiple stories like that. Yeah. So, someone got in with that same coin, and then I heard they made close to 17 million, and it was off an investment of $25. And so people our age, the millennials, the Generation Zers, the Xennials, Generation Zs, and I'm saying Generation X as well, they're hearing these stories. They're saddled with student loan debt. Their job prospects are low. Inflation is creeping on the come up. And their wages, they're looking at their wages like these are crap wages. I mean, what you get paid now, they're looking at what their parents got paid similar to their salary, and they could buy a lot more. They can do a lot of things. They can buy a home. They're like, I just went to law school. I'm almost 100K in debt. I'm making good money, but it's my rent and my student loan debt are eating up almost my money. Mm-hmm. But if I take $500 and put it in crypto, maybe in a year or two, I'll have 25 grand, 50 grand, 100 grand, 200 grand, or maybe I'll hit the jackpot. And I think that's what's fueling a lot of the cryptocurrency market right now. Yeah. This opportunity to get ahead, to leap over these barriers to success that exist for, I think, this generation. I think it's a huge generation play, because I think people in this age bracket are looking for that freedom. They're looking for what they feel they're owed in regards to the economy that's been stolen away from them by, and again, just going with the argument, big corporations, taxes, etc.
Yeah, like my boy Greg Foss said, the baby boomer generation, the most selfish, greedy generation in the history. But
yeah, exactly. Like, I have 5 homes and want 6 more.
Yeah, bro.
I don't want to.
Another line of credit. Open it up.
Exactly. I'm not paying for this. The environment.
Yeah.
Again, I'm just talking about perceptions. I'm not saying that's exactly my view of the baby boomers.
It's all fun and play, guys.
Yeah, exactly.
What do you think about that in terms of, I got it, I'm going to go as far out on the risk curve as possible. More risk, more reward. What do you think about that in a pros versus cons?
The pro is if you have the ability to take the hit, right? So I don't get the logic. For example, I read another story of a guy who he grew up poor. He put $180,000 into Dogecoin in January, and when Dogecoin was peaking at 60 cents prior to Elon Musk's acting debut in SNL, which then sent it spiraling down, had made over $1 million. So the idea of putting your life savings into a cryptocurrency, to me, I don't care what it is just mind-boggling. Any investor, any trader would be like, that's just no one does that. No one puts everything they have and pushes it into the table. No one does that. You take 50K, you take 100K. I mean, you at least leave, 5K for yourself if you have to, you crap out and you need to pay rent next month.
Yeah.
So I think, it depends on the person. I think we're not dealing with normal investors the way that we understood investors growing up. The Paul Tudor Joneses and the Warren Buffetts. We're not dealing with those. We're dealing with young people who are hungry and they want to be successful, and they see cryptos, again, as a way to cut the line in a good way, cutting the line in a good way, shortcut in a good way. So I think you have to think about your appetite for risk, number one. So the pro is if you can take the hit, it works for you. The con is cryptocurrency, and not to use your term, it's still in its infancy stages. And so pushing all your money into the a table will not only be unwise because you could get burnt pretty badly, and people have, especially with ICOs, initial coin offerings, for those who don't know, that have never produced the work that they said in their white paper they were going to produce. Bad speculative coins, and then also people are expecting things to turn around. I mean, people are predicting Ethereum is going to go from where it is now to 27,000. That may happen, but that may be another year, 2 years.
Yeah,
it depends
who you go through a whole bear market. And
before it hits that.
3 years.
Yeah. Now, I think Ethereum is going to be the backbone of this, the internet. I think it's going to be one of the major backbones of the internet, but it's going to take time, guys. Let's talk about 5, 6, 7 years. That goes into the investor mindset. If you're looking for these quick trades and these quick pumps, you need capital to do that. And if you don't have that, then you're going to think differently, in my opinion. Other people may tell you differently, and if they're the expert, listen to them. Don't listen to me. So I think the risk thing kind of works both ways.
Yeah. I think also people that were in GameStop are, the movie theater, AMC, or even a lot of these cryptos. I know people were sitting in that trade for a year, 18 months.
Yeah.
Some people got lucky and got in right before, or did a quick day trade.
Yeah.
But to reap, you have, you got to sow them seeds for a while.
Yeah.
People like Brian Armstrong with Coinbase, he paid his dues for almost a decade. He reaped his harvest. So for education, for free game for everybody is, it's about the long term. They're very wealthy. They think long term. That's on you to do your due diligence, but also, hey, it's not easy to stick your face in the mud and say, hey, I'm just going to take it, when in crypto, you can have 20 to 50 to 80% drawdowns in one day.
Yeah.
You're going to see a lot of cryptocurrencies, and we're just getting to the real part. You're going to see a lot of these coins die. Why? There are businesses behind these coins. If they don't have real uses, people will not use them. Why is Facebook alive today and well? Because 1 billion plus people get on every day, and that leads their ads, and the other people who make the ads believe that people are going to click on their ads. They are essentially a marketplace of businesses and individuals. So whatever the token is used for, there has to be a business use case for that, so it can stay alive. The token sales are literally for liquidity. Right. Liquidity is just money. So you need that currency to stay afloat, so they can use that liquidity for certain business purposes. Just why you go to the initial public offering. That's why you buy stock. You're buying a certificate so they can have your money to use that money for ways to run their operation. Just like when you go open a line of credit at the bank, you're using that for some cause. So that is what finance is. Financing, either we're taking ownership, which is equity, or we're taking debt, which means, hey, you're going to give you a loan, and we are going to charge you principal, which is the $100,000 plus the interest, 10% interest. That's $110,000 you have to pay the Bank of Joshua Taylor back. Right? Free game, not going to charge you today. So that's dope. Where do you think we're going? June 2022. Talk about June 2021 and talk about that. Kind of predictive, but kind of just think like just the state of where we're at. I know this is like maybe you saw the 2017 ICO bubble, but just talk about it now. How have we matured? And then how are we going to go through the rest of this quote unquote bull market?
That's a good question. So I'll keep it to from June of this year to June of next year. Number one, I think just kind of broad strokes, right? I think you're going to see Ethereum rise in price, because I think Ethereum is going to continue to become a bigger player, especially with Polygon assisting with scalability. I know Ethereum is going into 2.0 and moving down that track. I think Cardano will finally turn on their smart contracts. And I'm hoping that Ethereum and Cardano, that'll start, again, a slow burn, but a slow kind of fight for, dominance in the smart contract space. We don't know how people will work with Cardano, how people are going to enjoy Cardano. The other thing I think connected to Cardano is you're going to see more people from this section of the world here on my map, with Cardano trying to become more of a player in the continent of Africa, getting online and getting involved in blockchain. Again, next billion users. And I think we're starting to see that now. People in the global South in particular are going to find their way onto the internet and find a way to participate in this brand new economy, in this brand new internet, this next version of the internet. I also think what's going to happen is NFTs are going to continue to take hold in our society. So what I mean by that is I think you're seeing all this investment now to create NFTs, and I think there's going to be more innovation and more of a push to find ways to make NFTs more prominent in our society and more prominent avenue for commerce. I don't think we've tapped all the ways yet, because as more people get onto it and chew on the idea gets bigger and richer and deeper. So I think NFTs also are going to be a bigger part of what you're going to see in the next 12 months. Yeah. And I think that's about it. I think Bitcoin is not going away. I don't know what Bitcoin price will be. I'm not there with my prediction skills, but I think Bitcoin will continue to go up. I don't think Bitcoin's going to continue to take a hit. I think there's going to see more investment in Bitcoin as you see now. And I think the third thing is you're going to see the community get a lot bigger. So you have the Bitcoin conference, you have DeFi summit going on right now. I think you're going to see more and more people participate in these kinds of conferences, in these communities, getting into people's telegrams, going on Discords, and finding ways to connect. Because one of the things you see now is a big trend in fintech, a big trend in marketing right now is about community. You really can't have an application or a business without having community, because community is getting bigger. Why? Because as Brian Clark says from Copy Blogger and Unemployable, we are now in the connection economy. People want to know that they can connect with people, and they want to buy from people, and they want trust with people. And that's the great thing about blockchain. It creates trust even among strangers to transact. So, but adding another community element there is just going to bring more and more people into this space. And I think blockchain companies that do better with managing their communities, growing their communities, and most importantly, cultivating the communities are going to slowly start to move up in rank. And that's you saw with Dogecoin. Dogecoin had a rich community base for years now.
Yeah, they've been around since
2015. Yeah. So
not going anywhere.
Yeah. So
future.
So people are heavy into Dogecoin. And so that's the thing I think that's keeping blockchain alive is these communities. And you cannot be a competitive blockchain, I think, as far as branding and hype. Now, what your technology is what your technology is, right? But as far as branding as hype is concerned, and if you think branding and hype is tied into the price of your cryptocurrency, some people argue that it is, some people may argue that it's not. I'm just coming from one perspective. But branding and hype do have a place in the business world in 2021, 2022. We know that already. Yeah. Branding is important. The key to that is your community.
Branding and product.
Man.
The two sides. That's great. Yeah. I would love for you to explain what an NFT is for the newbies. What is an NFT and what does that stand for?
So an NFT is a non-fungible token, right? That's the exact term. That's the breakdown of the acronym. What a non-fungible token is a unique digital asset that's built upon blockchain technology. The reason why they call it non-fungible is because the word fungible means changeable, right? That's money is fungible, means I have $1, I give Joshua $1, he gives me back $1, $5. Money is changeable. With non-fungible tokens is that it represents a unique digital asset that cannot be replicated again or exchanged. So that's what NFTs are. And the reason why NFTs are getting big is because, as we see with some of the NFT hype, people are creating unique works of art using non-fungible tokens, which provide a lot of opportunity, as I mentioned earlier. One is provenance, right? So you can track who created the NFT, who sold the NFT, who owned the NFT, who resold the NFT. Okay. Through blockchain technology. Also with NFT, you have computer code, so you can program things like in the future, if for such and such amount of sales of this NFT, the creator will retain certain rights. So almost like residual from music, right? You play music, someone gets a check cut to them. You just can't play Dionne Warwick Wow, that's a blast from the past, Dionne Warwick. But you just can't play Dionne Warwick's music without
All
Dionne Warwick.
The kids don't know who that is.
Yeah, exactly. Corday, I don't know. Little Uzi Vert. I mean, you just can't play their music without cutting a check to their publisher. Now, who owns the publishing is a different story, but you just can't do that without getting a cutting a check, excuse me. So I think the same thing is going to happen with NFTs, a way for residual income, potentially, depending on what NFTs and who creates those NFTs and how they code those NFTs.
Yeah, that's dope. That's dope. NFTs is going to be, are going to be $1 trillion, trillions of dollars.
Oh yeah.
Anybody will be able to create one. You think about all the exchanges, Facebook Marketplace, any marketplace.
Yeah.
NFTs will be able to be exchanged in these different protocols and on the multi-chain. Different.
I was watching Drink Champs with Nori, and MC Serch from Third Base Fame was on there talking about he created an NFT with Grandmaster Caz. And for those who don't know, Grandmaster Caz is one of the original lyricists of hip hop, had created this song that Big Daddy Kane had heard in the 80s off like a 4th generation cassette tape, and had Grandmaster Caz, who's 61 years old, go back in the studio, record it, and then he released it as an NFT. I saw before I got on here, Tim Berners-Lee, I believe, is going to release the original source code for the internet on an NFT. I mean, NFTs, Jack Dorsey released his first tweet as an NFT.
Yeah.
I mean, we're going to get more and more into this. And right now, I think it's kind of operating like art, like the art market. Like, oh, here's this unique, cool thing that you can have, like this Van Gogh, or, like Van Gogh's dead, so you're never going to get another Van Gogh. Yeah. People can reproduce Van Goghs and get pretty darn close to it, but it's not Van Gogh. I think that's kind of the way the market's moving, but I think NFT is going to go a little bit faster and deeper, where you're going to talk about corporate brands being able to do limited run NFTs so they can do cross-platform purchasing and integration with, real items, physical items, and that gets into augmented reality and the metaverse.
Yep. Yeah. I wanted to talk about, before we go deep dive into the metaverse.
Yeah.
About the metaverse. This episode was worth 100,000 views tomorrow.
Hopefully.
Yeah, right. One day. I wanted to talk about how you were talking about the other countries, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Eastern countries, emerging markets. So we know, and if you don't know, now you know.
Exactly. Brooklyn.
Yeah, El Salvador is the first country to classify Bitcoin as legal tender, no longer the US dollar, because they're under the US dollar. Let's talk about that. That's crazy.
Sure.
Other Latin countries are hopping on. You mentioned it in YoBlock. Shout out. Talk about that. What does that mean? Like legal tender, Bitcoin, legal tender. I thought it was a fixed supply. What's going on?
Yeah. So I think with El Salvador, this is exciting for a couple of reasons. Number one, El Salvador is a Central American country that, as for those who don't know, historically, Central America has gone through a lot of changes. A lot of countries in Central America, in that region, have gone through a lot of changes since the 80s. And El Salvador is, and I'm doing some research right now because I'm going to write an article about this for YoBlock, a more long-form article, and I've discussed this with you, Jay, before. But really, so the first thing is that this is exciting because, A, a country just made Bitcoin legal tender. That's off top. It's like, all right, bam, like first country out the gate. It's just like, your first prom or your first dance, your first kiss. It's like, whether it's memorable or not, it was the first one. Whether it's successful or not, it was the first one. Yeah. Awesome. The second thing I think about that's interesting is that it's El Salvador. Like I said, it's a particular region in our planet, especially in our hemisphere, that Western hemisphere, that has had a lot of problems historically, with some issues with poverty and other things going on. And so the fact that they're the first mover also makes it a lot more fascinating, because then you're saying, how are you going to be innovative and use Bitcoin and the technology of blockchain to reimagine your society, to reimagine the way El Salvador functions, not just for the government, but for the people, ideally.
Yeah.
The third thing is, and this is like a little bit of an interest for me, crypto havens, places where cryptocurrencies and people who own cryptocurrencies are going to flock to in order to be in a crypto environment. And I think that's going to become important because I don't think everybody's going to get on the same page so quickly. You saw the IMF immediately came out, well, not immediately, but they did come out and they had something to say. The World
Pretty
Bank.
quickly.
Yeah. Quick enough. You know what I mean? Hey, wait a minute, you owe me money, so I got to say something about this.
Yeah.
Exactly. You know, it's like you owe someone $10,000, you won the lottery. It's not like they're going to ignore it. Like, oh, wait a minute, he got 20 million now? Exactly. Come right over.
That interest rate just went up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
About that 10K in your wallet. So I'm interested in crypto havens because I'm interested in to see, as we see other countries hop on board with Bitcoin and the same kind of decisions that El Salvador is making. But you see other countries like, nah, we're not there. You saw Trump came out and said, oh, I always believed in the dollar. I want the dollar. It's people who think like Trump. And so, yeah. So I think that where these clashes happen, you're going to see people flocking to crypto havens where they can be supported, where they can set up businesses. And people are going to say, well, what's the difference if blockchain is distributed and it's decentralized? Why do you need to go to El Salvador if, you know, you have all this access, you know, if, in South Africa, or you have all this access in, you know, Montana or, you know, LA? But I think the difference is that when you go the laws, right? So the laws, being able to find a space where you can be in community, even though, you know, decentralized, you can still participate. It's another thing to be there and be part of community. It's another thing to be there and set up a business, whether it's a mining company or, you know, a different kind of payment company there that's built on blockchain. People want to be a part of a space that allows them to be productive and creative. We still need people. And we still need community, i.e. what we were just talking about earlier. So I think this crypto haven kind of concept, I'm curious how that's going to play out in El Salvador, if they're going to start to attract people who are not from El Salvador there, if their laws become more and more supportive of Bitcoin, blockchain, and cryptocurrencies in general. I think there's a lot more to be said there about the IMF and also about El Salvador's debt, you know, what they owe. I don't know all of it. I'm just starting to research now for my long form piece. But that's going to be interesting because I think people want to know, how are these countries going to be able to pay their debts and now assert themselves as a world power, right? This is what I think this is about, right? Becoming a bigger, you know, the bigger game, the bigger currency, the bigger power. And that's important for countries like El Salvador. This innovation allows them, just like we said for the millennials and exennials, to cut the line.
Yeah, they're like, hey, we want our rightful place. We want to.
Yeah, you could, you know.
If we want to, hey, we've been bottom of the scum. We've been conquested, whatever it might be.
Mm-hmm.
You know, these countries, these emerging markets are trying. It's time for us to actually emerge and just stop being called emerging markets.
Yeah. I mean, you see what Akon is doing now in on the continent.
Yeah.
Didn't he just get a new deal to build another cryptocurrency city on in East Africa? I believe it was something. I know he's doing one in West Africa.
Yeah, Acoin.
Yeah, Acoin. So
on that for a while too. They've been trying to get it along.
Yeah. So, you know, I don't know what the barriers to success are there. I'm not that well versed on that, but I think the fact that people are thinking along these lines, right? What are they doing? They're cutting out the middleman. They're cutting out the banks, right? Is Wells Fargo knee deep in Chad, Africa? I mean, I don't know. I don't think so. Maybe in investments, but not in as far as retail banking, right? So, you know, I think being able to cut out the middleman and cut out the traditional banking system and create growth on your own terms, you know, countries like Chad, countries like Uganda, countries like the Democratic Republic of Congo, countries like El Salvador, this is an opportunity for them if they can hop on it and they have the infrastructure.
Yeah.
They have the volcanoes to mine.
Yeah.
For power mining facilities.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Greg was talking about that last episode about how these volcanic activity, how from an emission standpoint, they release more carbon than the entire world population in one year. All the volcanoes. So yeah, y'all can go back and listen to Greg give educational seminars in one pod episode.
Yeah.
Educational. I love that I'm learning and we're all learning on
this.
And so, yeah, man, what do you think? What do you think about your approach to helping educate just underserved communities on Bitcoin blockchain, and actually making sure that these communities actually are involved in building new worlds.
Yeah. So that's why I go back to you asking me about YoBlock. I mean, I wanted something that was accessible to the people that I'd be talking to, the generation A, I think the younger generation, B, working class people who are too busy and too bogged down with, living paycheck to paycheck, like many of us are, to get involved. And also something that would resonate from, touch points to culture they have, which are music, right? So YoBlock. So I'm pretty passionate about this, in that I think we need to have greater conversations about financial inclusion. Let's talk about student debt. Let's talk about the push that you see from young people on the Biden administration to really do something about student debt. There's a reason for that. Student debt is an albatross around most young people's necks. There are more pockets of people that are more vulnerable than others with the debt, but overall, across the board, student loan debt is a problem. So it's preventing people from actualizing and living into their dreams, from being able to have, a nice house, a decent car, and, some vacation time, which most people want. I always argue that I don't think everyone's interested in being a billionaire. I think people are just interested in having a good quality of life.
90% of people probably aren't.
Yeah. They just want They just want a good quality of life compared to what the price is, the price of bread, food, peanut butter, and a Camry. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
When they go to the ball game or something or whatever, and they buy a $20 burger or something.
Yeah. They want to be able to do that and not feel it. So I think this idea, again, of cryptocurrencies talks about financial inclusion. It talks about bringing a new class of investors, a new class of traders. Also, I think a new community, right? So you see that now with people who are pumping up Dogecoin, right? It was a group of people trying to push the market a certain way, manipulating the market. And what was the argument back? You guys up there have been doing that for years. You guys pointing at the hedge fund people and the other individuals that they're accusing of controlling and manipulating the market. I'm not saying that happens. I'm just saying that's what the argument is. I'm not giving you my personal opinion. And so, I think that this whole thing about opening up this conversation about blockchain and crypto to people who have been historically shut out of the first internet boom, which we call Web 2.0, I think this is A, is important. B, I'm about it. But C, I think this is going to be an interesting journey because, right, there's still coding you have to learn. There's cryptography you have to learn, mathematics you have to learn, and there's still elements of this industry that is controlled by tech networks. I heard the best argument back in 2010 on a TechCrunch article. I don't know who wrote it, so if this is you, person, I'm giving you credit. They said, look, tech markets are meritocratic, right? They just, as you have an app that solves a problem, people don't care what the color of your skin, what your sexual orientation, what your gender is. I want it. Tech networks are fraught with biases and prejudices across the board. Yeah. And so tech networks, even though blockchain is open, even though blockchain it's network driven. And so how do people who've been historically shut out get into these networks? And then these networks accept these people and work on a one-on-one basis. That's going to look different in different places. It's going to look different to different people. But I do think if you have an internet connection that's stable, because that's even another question. How many people in these places have, really good internet where they can spend time online, learning how to code, teaching themselves about blockchain? And here in New York City, there was, reports that came out because of the whole pandemic and people learning at home. How many kids really have access to good, internet? And then if you have access to internet, good computers, quality computers that, can stay open for, amount of time, 8 hours at a day so that you can, learn and skill up.
Behind, man.
Yeah. So I think, blockchain is an easy concept. I think the idea of cryptocurrency for people is an easy concept. I think it's, that's why so many people are getting into it. And we are seeing a lot of people from historically underrepresented groups get into cryptocurrency. But how do we get more? How do we go into some of the, the deeper places of the hood to do that? I think that's fraught with the same challenges that we had, like I said, related to the pandemic and related to quality internet. So what does it look like for cities to really sponsor a plan with, corporations and other people from the private sector to Wi-Fi the whole entire city? that's going to look different in Des Moines, Iowa than it is in New York City. It's going to look different in LA than it is in Davenport, Iowa, or in Omaha, Nebraska. It just is, as far as population and as far as landscape and as far as ability and money. But these are some of the, I think, the deeper questions we need to have as far as us being competitive as a nation, and also thinking large about the integration of 5G into our society.
Yeah, man. Where
real opportunity is going to start to open up, just like it did with 4G.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you can see the glitches on your phone if you don't notice that your phone signal's been crappy lately. They're getting the 5G ready.
Yeah.
What do you think the downsides are to crypto, the blockchain, in our future?
Well, we just mentioned one: tech networks. They control gatekeepers.
They get even big. It's the same thing all over again. Just for
to quote a very famous philosopher, the rich get richer, right? So, and the poor get poorer. So what role would tech networks have? Because they have the money now, right? So if you have $1 billion now, you have $1 billion to put into the next, or money rather. You're not gonna put out your whole billion there. But if you had 100 and you want to take 100 million off,
larger initial investment.
Yeah. So you able to move in perpetuity into the next big thing because you have the wealth. You're creating more wealth and then reinvesting that wealth. So I think tech networks. So how do we challenge and create opportunities? How do we make things more equitable for people who can't participate, who don't have that buy-in power? So I think that's the downside. The other downside, I think, potentially of cryptocurrencies is the manipulation that can happen with cryptocurrencies, where the scamming, the ICOs, it's not very well regulated right now. I'm not an advocate for regulation. I'm not saying that, but we have to be honest about ways that people can get ripped off and have been ripped off with cryptocurrencies. You talk about DeFi right now. DeFi getting really, really big, but people have problems with some of the DeFi protocols and some of the DeFi programs because people are just copying, pasting code, not really doing their job. There's holes in the code.
What is DeFi?
Oh, thank you. DeFi stands for decentralized finance. This idea of everything we do on our IRL in real life, such as loans, investing, it's happening now through the blockchain protocol through something they call smart contracts, which are contracts built on blockchain through computer code. So all the conditions of the contract are satisfied through the blockchain.
If-then statements.
Yes, exactly. If-then statements, right? So if my landlord has a smart contract and I have a rental property, I pay, my landlord through the blockchain. They runs a code that then I can, with a contract, understanding that I now can stay in this apartment for the said amount of time that my money covers, whether it's a month, 2 months, 3 months, a year, etc.
Yeah. So essentially, to explain it to you and to the audience.
Yeah.
Basically, if we do that, me and you are doing that contract about the lawn. I'm cutting your lawn, right? You're holding this money in this if-then statement. Then there's literally, we are the lawyers and we are the financiers.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And we don't need there's no middleman. We are our own, and the blockchain is doing it for us.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
Correct. Yeah, like I said, all the conditions of the contract are satisfied in the blockchain. So yeah, absolutely. So if you do what you have to do, you cut the lawn. I see that. Then I move the money. Everything. Yeah, everything happens on the blockchain.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
But just to go back to the downside, I think that DeFi still has to mature. There's issues with code. I think that's where we have to be, just to alert and aware. And again, it goes to your risk tolerance, right? One of the smartest pieces of advice you get with investing is don't put anything out there you're not willing to lose. You're uncomfortable. You have a problem with losing. You don't put it out there. But people, I think, are just seeing opportunity. They have, I was gonna say they have dollar signs in their eyes, but I think they have Bitcoins in their eyes. Looking at the next opportunity to make some serious coin. Yeah, exactly.
Laser eyes. They want diamond hands, but they got weak hands.
Yeah. This market is still maturing, so
Yeah, like everything, right? All kids grow up, hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. What do you think about since we're getting so technologically, tech is just like a part of life, right? The kids that are growing up, they're born in 2000 and 99, and
Yeah.
I'm like the end of millennials, 90 baby. These Zoomers, I guess. How do we know there's been reports like there's in China, they have so much of their population, like our engineers, our software engineers versus ours, just ridiculously lower. How do we do that? How do we say, hey, this is a language, you're going to learn another language, and that language is programming, right? Like you're going to learn a couple lines of code. You're going to know how to learn the basics of programming. It may not be like Spanish, French, or like you got to get in computer programming at an early age. What do you think that is? How do we solve that? Is that a need? Are we just hyping it up? Like,
part of this Black software tech kind of phone call that happens like every Saturday with some guys, and there's some guys and they're heavy hitters who are programmers, and they talk about this. And so one of the things is really, you just can't start in college. You can't start in high school. You got to go back to middle school and really start with the math in middle school, and people starting to wrestle with these concepts in middle school. That's number one. So I think there's an education element, whether you get it in your direct school, you get it in your after school, you get it in your weekend school, right? Some places, some parents make sure the kids get it in all three. You're just hitting it at all times. Kind of like kids who grew up to be really good basketball players. They're just out there on the court at 10 o'clock at night, shooting jumpers.
Yeah,
it's the same thing. You're at home, studying code, learning HTML, learning JavaScript every day. You're doing something, even if you're not moving as fast as you'd like, maybe because you're injury prone or you're tired. Yeah. You're still hitting it. Same thing with JavaScript. You're there, even though you're struggling with, a piece of code. You're there. You're present. You're hitting it. I think that's number one. But I think number two with that also comes desire. I read an article where it says when you ask children in China, again, China's a huge place, but this was just the article, what they want to be when they grow up, they say astronauts. When you ask the average kid here, it's like, oh, YouTuber. It's like, yeah. Why? Because, right, you have children like Ryan, the kid who does unboxes toys, making $37 million a year. Kids see that. You have people online making really good money. YouTube, we're becoming more of a media first society where, screens are all around us. Media is coming at us all the time. It's ubiquitous. And so it becomes super important for you as a kid to be like, well, why am I going to be a police officer or a fire person or a, engineer when I can go and I can be this YouTuber, get a lot of friends. Now, we know they're not their friends, but that's what you're thinking as a kid,
that's
right?
Their community.
Yeah.
And they can be.
Yeah, respect. I have a phone. My parents gave me a phone. I'm just going to start making videos right now and start building a following and start making money and get access. I mean, look at, Jake and, Logan Paul. I mean, those guys were just viners, and now this dude's fighting Floyd Mayweather in exhibition fights. I mean,
yeah.
Dude, that's a come up.
He's definitely a GOAT. You got to that guy.
Yeah. I mean, that's a big deal. 12-year-olds see that. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to be a boxer anymore. You could just be like, yo, I'm in shape and I box enough.
Yeah,
and then I get to fight.
Like Lil Wayne, right? We're like, everybody wants to be 50 Cent, Lil Wayne, in my era, right?
Yeah.
Back in the day, right? Nas, Tupac, all these.
Yeah. But I mean, just think about that. You're good enough to then go against the greatest in another sport. That's like, yo, I'm really good at bocce ball. And so I'm so good at bocce ball, I get to go against Serena Williams in an exhibition tennis match.
Yeah,
right? Like, that's crazy.
Your name and likeness is so big.
Yeah, well, brand and being a brand now is the biggest thing in the world. I mean, that's what we talked earlier about blockchain branding. I mean, you can have the best blockchain technology. I mean, it could solve the blockchain trilemma, but if you can't, brand well, then that's it. And so everything's about being a brand. And so I think that's what, I think a lot of young people see. And so being an engineer, right? Let's just be honest. And my homegirl, Dr. Regina Langley, talks about this. You want to get a PhD? You got to be able to put your head down for 5 years to get that PhD. You want to learn how to be good at coding? You got to be able to put your head down for 5, maybe even 10 years to become an excellent coder. I mean, to be an in-demand, like, programmer, software engineer. It may take less than that, but, it's going to take time and just putting your head down, getting your code critiqued, growing in a community, And that may not pay you a gajillion dollars. That may pay you 100K, 115K, depending on the market, depending on the job, maybe 150, but you're not going to make 20 mil. Not doing that until you start your own company, you start building out and adding value to companies. Paul Graham had an article about that recently, right? How companies, starting a companies, how people are now creating more wealth. You know, I just think that's the hard thing, I think, in our society, is getting our young people invested. I mean, they're saying that like the next couple of years right now with skilled trades, plumbers, carpenters, electricians, there's a need. Nurses in a couple of years, doctors in a couple of years, behavioral health, social workers, there's a need. There isn't enough people to replace these people. Now, I don't know why all that is, right? Some of it is probably access. I mean, medical school is freaking expensive. Trades really aren't a part of our education anymore, even though being an electrician is a dope trade. But I mean, you're not going to get rich and famous off being an electrician.
Yeah, and they pay well.
Yeah, they do pay well, but I mean,
yeah.
To be a plumber, I mean, you're not going to get 37 mil a year off ads and endorsements being a plumber.
Yeah, you're not getting Dak Prescott money. You're not getting influencer name them.
Yeah. I mean, maybe maybe on Angie's list, but outside of that, I mean, you're kind of stuck. So
the clout.
Yeah, wars. The clout wars. I like that. Yeah. So I think that's what's going to take a reimagination of what it means to be successful and how to get there. Because we do need software engineers, but I just, there's some barriers that we have to overcome in our society.
Yeah, that's cool. What is your focus for the rest of the year?
Growing out YoBlock, continue to serve people with quality writing and research. Remaining an avid blockchain and cryptocurrency student of economics. Learning from people like yourself who are, have their degrees in economics and finance, learning more important concepts in those areas so that I can better serve the people that read my newsletter. I'm all about service, and I care about my readers. I care about the information they get. I care about how they take what I read and then apply it to their lives. And I want it to be, solid. I don't want it to be something where they go somewhere, they go to build upon something that I've given them, and it's just not, it's not sturdy, it's not strong. That pisses me off. So I'm really about bringing forth really good content on a consistent basis to people who can then use it to start deepening their own journey, going deeper down the rabbit hole with blockchain and crypto. So that's kind of my goal for the next year, next couple of months.
Nice, man. Where can people find you online?
You can just go to YoBlock.net. My email is Heath, Heath, at YoBlock.net. And also YoBlock on Instagram. It's like _YoBlock at Instagram for all your delicious YoBlock related Bitcoin memes, cryptocurrency memes.
Nice, bro. Nice, big bro, for sure. This was awesome.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I know we didn't get a chance to chat about the metaverse, but
I know. I was literally about to say that's next. We will have to have you back, man.
Just
Only metaverse and talk about just all things metaverse. I'm super hyped about the metaverse.
Yeah, brother. Yeah.
That is Ready Player One. That will be the title.
Yeah. You put me on the game, so I appreciate you, brother.
Yes. Are you ready for Ready Player One? That'll be the title.
Yeah. In the near future. Yeah. I have to get some more. I know because you got so many dope podcasts in the can, man. I'm super excited for you, brother. It's been a pleasure just getting to know you, and I'm super excited for Breaking in Crypto. I love the way that you think through this space, and I love the way that you're really trying to find a structure for people to go from newbie to expert. And I haven't really seen that in that space, so I just want to let you know and encourage you. You have something novel, and you have something dope. Take your time with it. Yeah. Not too much time, but enough time. And
me.
Eventually,
but like you said, we're working on it. And thank you, man. You guys go subscribe to YoBlock Newsletter. I love it. I love the feed, how it keeps going down. It's enough substance as well, and we're gonna keep growing together.
Yes, brother.
Heath and I, and just continue to grow, keep educating, and we'll be back for part 2, man.
Yeah, absolutely, brother. Thank you for having me. I appreciate you.
Have a good night, man.
Have a good night, brother. All right.
Peace. All right, guys. That was awesome. Heath, man, that's my big bro. You heard him. A lot of good advice there, a lot of good stuff. We're all learning. This space is very new. Continue to follow YoBlock.net, and I'll put the stuff in the description. And BreakinCrypto.com. It's BreakinCrypto.com. That's me. You can follow me on Twitter, JCTaylor9210, and Instagram, Joshua.c.taylor. And hey, man, let's keep growing and let's break into the future. Breaking gang. Peace.